Thank you for your interest in study abroad and for starting an application for a non-CSUF provider program. This short recording is going to inform you on a few topics related to this program type. We want to make sure that you are understanding the full commitment that comes with applying to a non-CSUF provider program. So, in this recording, we will talk about what a non-CSUF provider program is, what the application process is, cost, and academics. Again, our study abroad office just really wants to make sure that before you commit to a program like this, you do fully understand the differences with this type of program as opposed to CSUF programs and what the application process consists of. So, for starters, what is a non-CSUF provider program? So, this type of program is not affiliated with Cal State Fullerton. It is a program with a company or an organization. And these are organizations that offer study abroad programs to the general public. So, if you look up their website, essentially anybody can apply to the program as long as you meet the requirements. And they do offer many locations, concentrations. So they are great options. And if you are watching this recording, it's because you already initiated an application on our website for one of these programs. And you may have already taken a look at their website as well to browse the program details. So great options, but they are not with Cal State Fullerton. So you are applying directly through the provider. Some examples we see on the screen here are AIFS Abroad, CIEE Study Abroad, World Strides. These are just a few. There are many organizations out there. And on our website, we have listed a few of our trusted partners that we've worked with in the past. But like I said, once again, this is not a Cal State Fullerton program. And many times students automatically assume that through these programs, uh, just like they would through CSUF Exchange or CSUIP or faculty-led programs, the same rules apply. So this presentation is here just to clarify what those differences are. So we're going to start first with the application process. So this program type requires that you submit two applications. The first is going to be the application on the provider website. So what that means is if you are applying, for example, to a program offered by AIFS, you need to go to their website and complete their respective application. Um, Heads up, application fees are very common when you are applying to a non-CSUF provider program. This is something not applicable to most of our Cal State Fullerton programs. So be prepared to be charged an application fee upon your application submission. I've seen application fees range anywhere from $80 to $100. It really depends on the provider. And the majority of the time, these application fees are non-refundable. So make sure you're aware of that commitment before you fully submit that application. Provider application deadlines can be much later than Cal State Fullerton study abroad application deadlines. So again, these organizations are very large. They have a much larger capacity than Cal State Fullerton study abroad office does. And that's why they do have way more flexibility to have later deadlines. But here at Cal State Fullerton Study Abroad, we really want to encourage you to try your best to be on the CSUF timeline. So, for example, if you are applying for a fall program, you want to make sure you're submitting all requirements by the CSUF fall application cycle. For study abroad. And for this reason, our study abroad team will also be reaching out to you, trying to make sure that we are confirming your program participation details in time for our internal study abroad application process deadline. And the CSUF study abroad office does in many occasions have to approve your application submitted on the provider website. So most program applications will require that at the time of application submission, you indicate who your campus study abroad office is. So what that triggers is an automated email to our office where they do require that our CSUF study abroad team verify a few things so that you're a current student. Sometimes a GPA verification may be needed, a student conduct process. So our team will take care of that. And for most of these providers, they will not allow you to submit an application without that approval. Step two is to complete the Cal State Fullerton Study Abroad application for non-CSUF programs. So for most of our partners that we have worked with in the past, we have a non-CSUF designated application for their program. You want to make sure you're completing that application in our system. This is extremely important because it allows for Cal State Fullerton Study Abroad to monitor your study abroad program, especially make sure that you're meeting all the requirements for all Cal State Fullerton students traveling abroad for academic purposes. So through this process, we will collect basic information such as emergency contacts. You'll be required to sign a few risk management related forms. Everything is online. And because you are participating on a non-CSUF provider program, Cal State Fullerton does provide you with travel health insurance at no additional cost for the duration of your program. So this is how we ensure we receive all the information we need to bind that insurance. Um, this application also needs to be completed in order for the Cal State Fullerton Study Abroad office in order to be able to complete that provider approval request. So usually, before we submit that request, we do reach out to the student, letting them know, hey, you haven't completed this application. Here are the details. Complete this so that I could go ahead and submit your approval. And in general, we also want to make sure that by you completing the Cal State Fullerton application process, you are being treated along with the other CSUF students traveling for study abroad during that same application cycle. So this will ensure that you're receiving the same resources as the rest of the students going abroad during that cycle. You'll be included in our general pre-departure orientation. Any announcements that we share with everybody, you'll be part of that queue. So it is really important that you are submitting the application in our system to make sure that you really are covering all these topics, all of these processes required before your departure. Next major topic is the cost. So when students apply for a non-CSUF provider program, it is very important that they understand the cost commitment to a program like this. Um, with a non-CSUF provider program, students are paying program fees and tuition to the respective program provider, not CSUF. So what this means is that for the time that you're abroad, whether it's a semester, a short term, all your fees and tuition are going to be paid to the provider, not to Cal State Fullerton. And this could be more, it could be less than Cal State Fullerton tuition and fees. It completely depends on the program. A lot of times you'll see that program fees can be a bit costly with a provider program, but they are providing a full service. So when you look at their website, make sure you're really looking at what is included in that program fee. And a lot of times they are organizing a lot on your behalf. So that's one reason why the cost can be a bit more than a CSUF program. Um, and also, very important to keep in mind is that with non-CSUF programs, you can only use federal financial aid. So, with this, it is very important that you understand that you cannot use state financial aid. So, unfortunately, if you are looking for a program that allows you to really maximize the use of your financial aid, this is not the best option because you are limited only to federal financial aid. The reason being that you aren't paying tuition to Cal State Fullerton. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you are a financial aid recipient. And the other thing is that providers have strict refund policies. So very different from our CSUF exchange, CSUIP programs, where refund policies are very different. For some programs, there is no program fee, right? So, with these provider programs, they are a business, an organization providing you with the service. And for this reason, right, they're covering their grounds. So it is really important that you pay attention to what the refund policy is. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times that application fee is non-refundable, deposits are non-refundable. Really being aware of their deadlines for withdrawing from a program and what you would be on the hook for. Typically, the closer you wait to the program departure, the less of a refund you'll receive, at times, possibly zero refund. So please make sure you're aware of their refund policy and deadlines and read the fine print. So typically, as you submit their application on their designated website, you are usually signing off on something where you're agreeing to that refund policy. So if at a later time you decide to drop and you don't agree with that refund policy, Cal State Fullerton unfortunately can't vouch on your behalf. This is a non-CSUF program, and very likely you signed off on it at the time of submitting that application. Also, we want you to be aware that with provider programs, payment commitments can move very quickly, something very different from CSUF programs. So it is very common, from the beginning, submitting the application fee, shortly after being accepted, and already having to commit with a deposit and payment plans rolling out quickly. So please be aware of that. If you're not ready to have that financial commitment, then it may not be the best option for you. And check out your provider's website for scholarships that are only open to students applying to their programs. So, yes, these programs they range in cost. Some could be very similar pricing to Cal State Fullerton programs. There are some that can be way more costly. And as we see, there are some limitations with applying financial aid, right? So we highly recommend that you explore all funding sources, scholarships. But with these programs, there is that perk that a lot of the providers do provide offer their own scholarships that are reserved only for students applying to their programs. So that is a smaller pool of applicants. The next major category we want to make sure you're fully understanding of is the academics and how they pertain to these type of programs. So by default, students that participate on these types of programs for credit, their units earned will transfer back as transfer elective units. So what that means is that if you once you finish your program and we receive your transcript, those units by default will be reported as transfer elective units unless you're looking for those units to be counted towards CSUF course equivalency, then in that case, you do need to go through our transfer credit approval process. This is a process that is conducted by yourself, the student, where you are requesting for course approvals with CSUF departments, right? So we go over this process step by step in your CSUF study abroad application. So please take a look at that. But this is something that is required if you want your units abroad to count towards CSUF course equivalency. Really important here, we recommend that you initiate this process as soon as possible in order to be better informed if this type of program that you're considering is the best option for earning units towards CSUF course equivalency. The reason why I say this is because um, I would hate for you to be in a position where you've completed a semester abroad and you decide to submit these course approvals until you return and come to find out that the CSUF colleges on campus are not approving any of your classes. Some of these programs can be very costly, right? So we're moving in the direction of this step being one of the factors that helps you decide if it's a program that will meet your needs. I would hate for you, like I said, to be in a position where you paid 20K for a program and you were planning on some of those courses to count towards major requirements, come to find out that they're not being approved. So the sooner you start on this process, the more reassurance you have that the program you're doing is indeed offering classes that have been approved for CSUF course equivalency. And like I said, that process, the transfer credit approval process, is covered in your CSUF study abroad application. And lastly, the transcript. So after your program is finished, in order for your units to be reported back to CSUF, we do require that a transcript be sent to the CSUF Study Abroad office. So we're not able to transfer back any of your course credits without that official transcript. And you are responsible for ensuring that our office does receive that official transcript from the provider. So and make sure that when you are submitting your application for the provider program, you indicate that you want your transcript sent directly to our office, and we will handle the process with registration and records. Sometimes it's very likely that there is an added fee for the transcript, so being aware of what those fees could be. We do accept electronic and hard copy transcripts, and the transcript must be sent to the study abroad office directly from the provider in order for it to be considered official. We sometimes have students that want to send us a transcript themselves, and just like the rules apply here on campus, that is technically not considered an official transcript, right? So we want to make sure that the transcript is coming directly from the provider. So in summary, um, with these types of programs, we want to make sure you're aware of the full commitment. Uh, for starters, if you want to be considered for one of these programs, you are required to submit both the CSUF study abroad application and the provider application on their designated website. And make sure you are aware of the full financial commitment that comes with participating in a non-CSUF provider program. So really look at the fine print. What is the full cost? What does it include? What is their refund policy? And keep in mind that if you're planning to use financial aid, you can only use federal financial aid. So really making sure that you understand the financial commitment with these programs. Um, and if your priority is to earn CSUF course equivalency, start on that transfer credit approval process as soon as possible to to be better informed if this program is indeed a good fit for you before investing in a high cost program, right? So for some students, they're okay with earning the transfer elective units and that's it. Great. They don't have to go through this approval process. But if one of your main goals is to earn credit towards major requirements, a minor, electives, you will need those transfer credit approvals. And the sooner you start on it, the better before you fully commit to a program like this that in some occasions can be very costly. And lastly, if after watching this presentation you realize, you know what, this is not the best program for me, or if you go back and you realize, oh wow, like I actually didn't know that the financial aid I can apply is limited. And now that you have a better understanding, if you decide that you are no longer interested in this type of program, please know that there are many other types of programs. There are programs where you are able to utilize all of your financial aid. There are programs that are discounted. So this is not the only option. Initially, it may seem like it's the only option because they are such large study abroad organizations and they have great marketing skills. They are great partners, but please know that there's other options out there. So if that is the case and you find yourself changing your mind on this program application, go ahead and email us at sabra.fullerton.edu and we can explore other options. We just want to make sure that before you commit to a provider program, you're fully aware of the commitment that comes with it. Um, so that's it for this presentation. Uh, we just want to make sure you're aware, right, of all the differences. This type of program can be very different from a CSUF program. And now that you've completed watching the recording, we do ask that you answer a few assessment questions below to show that you've watched the recording and understood the information.